In a world that had slowly forgotten how to pause, how to listen, and how to care, there lived a man named Ethan Cole, a man whose life had been shaped not by success or applause, but by quiet endurance and unseen struggles. Ethan lived in a crowded city where people rushed past each other every day, their eyes glued to glowing screens, their minds heavy with worries, and their hearts protected by walls built from disappointment. Kindness, once a natural habit, had become rare, almost suspicious, as though offering help required an explanation. Ethan was not extraordinary in appearance or position. He worked a modest job at a small printing shop tucked between tall buildings, earning just enough to survive. Yet what made Ethan different was something no one noticed at first glance. His heart still believed that kindness mattered, even when the world seemed determined to prove otherwise. Ethan's life had not been gentle with him. Years earlier, he had lost his parents in a tragic accident, a loss that left a deep silence inside him. Friends slowly drifted away as adulthood pulled everyone in different directions, and loneliness became a familiar companion. There were nights when Ethan returned to his small apartment, cooked simple meals, and sat by the window listening to the distant noise of traffic, wondering if his existence made any difference at all. But despite the weight of loneliness, he never allowed bitterness to take root. Somewhere deep within, he believed that pain could either harden a person or soften them, and he chose, every day, to remain soft. Each morning, Ethan followed the same routine. He woke up early, made himself a cup of tea, and walked to work through streets already crowded with impatience. On his way, he noticed things others ignored: a tired street cleaner rubbing his sore back, a child clutching a broken school bag, an elderly woman struggling to cross the road while cars honked without mercy. These moments tugged at Ethan's heart. He didn't have much money or power, but he had something more valuable: awareness and compassion. Sometimes he helped the elderly woman cross the street, sometimes he bought an extra loaf of bread and handed it to a homeless man, sometimes he simply smiled and listened when someone needed to speak. These acts felt small, almost invisible, but they were the language through which Ethan expressed his humanity. At the printing shop, life was equally ordinary and exhausting. The owner, Mr. Harris, was a strict man burdened by financial stress, often taking out his frustration on employees. Most workers kept their heads down, counting minutes until the day ended. Among them was Liam, a young man who had recently joined the shop. Liam was quiet, nervous, and clearly struggling. He made mistakes often, and each mistake earned him harsh words. While others avoided him to escape trouble, Ethan noticed the fear behind Liam's eyes. Instead of judging him, Ethan stayed late after work, patiently showing him how to operate machines, encouraging him when he failed, and reminding him that mistakes were not proof of worthlessness but steps toward growth. Liam never said much, but gratitude slowly replaced fear in his expression. Outside of work, the city continued its restless rhythm. News headlines spoke of conflict, betrayal, and loss. Social media thrived on arguments and comparisons. People measured their value by likes and followers, forgetting the quiet power of empathy. Ethan felt this heaviness too. There were days when he questioned whether kindness even mattered anymore. After all, kindness did not pay bills, did not bring recognition, and did not protect one from pain. Yet every time doubt crept in, something small happened: a thankful smile, a relieved sigh, a simple, "God bless you," and Ethan felt reminded that kindness was not meant to be loud, it was meant to be real. One rainy evening, as Ethan walked home, he noticed a woman sitting on the steps of a closed store, soaked and trembling. Her clothes were thin, her eyes hollow with exhaustion. Most people walked past her, pretending not to see. Ethan hesitated for only a moment before approaching. He offered his umbrella and asked if she was all right. The woman, Sarah, hesitated too, clearly unused to being asked such a question. Slowly, words spilled out. She had lost her job, then her home, and finally her sense of hope. Each rejection she faced had chipped away at her confidence until she believed she was invisible. Ethan listened without interrupting, without judgment. He bought her a warm meal, helped her find a nearby shelter, and before leaving, told her something she hadn't heard in a long time: that her life mattered. That night, Ethan returned home feeling heavier and lighter at the same time. Heavy because he had witnessed raw pain, light because he had been able to help, even in a small way. He sat by his window again, watching rain blur the city lights, and thought about how fragile people truly were beneath their hurried appearances. He realized that everyone was fighting a battle no one else could see. Some hid it behind anger, some behind silence, some behind laughter. And maybe, he thought, kindness was not about fixing everything, but about reminding people that they were not alone in their struggle. Days turned into weeks, and Ethan continued his quiet mission of compassion. At work, Liam slowly gained confidence. At the streets, familiar faces greeted Ethan with smiles. Even Mr. Harris seemed slightly less harsh, though he never admitted it. Still, life tested Ethan relentlessly. Bills piled up, his job felt uncertain, and loneliness lingered. There were nights when he lay awake questioning whether his kindness was foolish in a world that rewarded selfishness. But deep down, he understood something powerful. Kindness was not an investment expecting return, it was a choice that defined who he was. One morning, as Ethan walked to work, he noticed a small crowd gathered near a bus stop. In the center stood a young boy crying, his school uniform torn, his face streaked with tears. People whispered but did nothing. Ethan pushed through the crowd and knelt beside the boy. Gently, he asked what happened. Between sobs, the boy explained that bullies had taken his lunch money and broken his bag. Ethan felt a familiar ache in his chest. He bought the boy breakfast, fixed the bag as best he could, and walked him to school, telling him stories along the way to make him smile. The boy's laughter, soft and hesitant at first, felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. Ethan arrived late to work that day and was scolded for it. He accepted the scolding without explanation, choosing silence over self-defense. To him, being late was a small price to pay for restoring a child's hope. And as he returned to his tasks, ink-stained hands moving over paper, he felt something steady within him, a quiet strength rooted not in recognition, but in purpose. What Ethan did not know was that his kindness, though quiet, was not invisible. Lives he touched carried his words forward. Small actions created ripples, unseen but powerful, moving through the city in ways Ethan could never imagine. And while he believed himself to be just another man in a crowded world, fate was slowly weaving his compassion into something far greater than he expected.